first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. This is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. We are live streaming here every weekday starting around, well, 1 p.m. for the regular show, but also awesome 11 a.m. weather segments with our own Katie Zuniga. And, of course, we are here in studio for this segment. Sometimes we're over at the desk. Sometimes we're here. You know, it's nice to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, you know, you need to get a little change of scenery, keep you guys on your toes. Don't
Absolutely.
Get too bored with us.
Yeah. See, there we go. Well, and we are live streaming, so feel free to drop in any questions if you do have those. If you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatever platform you happen to be on, we appreciate that. But I have to say, like last night, I was constantly going to the Fox 12 weather app and everything else to find out what was going on because there was so much wind. Happening.
So I want to hear, before we get into the nuts and bolts and the nitty gritty, I want to hear your story. What time, what'd you hear, what happened for you?
I started paying attention probably around towards the evening. It was in the evening when I could hear it outside. And I've got a lot of trees, which always makes me nervous. And I hear something thump on top of my roof.
Yes.
So that makes me, worried about that. So I had to go outside and see what that was. Luckily, it wasn't too big. But yeah, then the rest of the time, it's, okay, I better power up everything. Oh, the lights are flickering. Oh, the power's going to go out. And it kind of lasted for a long time.
Yeah. So right about, it's about 10 minutes to 5. We had some thunders and lightnings come through. And after one of the lightnings, and I don't know for sure if this is what caused it, a few minutes later, everything shut down and we heard sirens.
Whoa.
And so the journalist in me wanted
this at home?
This was at home.
Okay.
Wanted to jump in my car and like go follow the sirens, but my family told me I needed to, stay home, so I did and had to get ready for bed. And I went to bed at my normal time, only slept for about an hour and a half, and I got woken up because our part of the storm really hit between 9 and 11.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't sleep no matter what. Our power was still out, and you could just hear just massive, torrential downpours and wind gusts. And then it finally died down about 11. Our power started to come back on at 11, just as I was falling asleep, or 11:30, and everything flashed and beeps and noises everywhere, and then it shut back down. And then we got to about 1 o'clock, finally had calmed down, was just about to fall back asleep. I only had a little left time to sleep before we had to come in.
Yeah.
Everything turned back on. My refrigerator decided it wanted to dump all the water out of the little fountain thing in the front of it, And so I had to run downstairs.
It just turned on?
It came back on to water fill mode. I don't know. And so I'm 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm mopping everything up. I came in, and so I'm running on an hour and a half of sleep right now.
Well, we don't want to keep you too long here. So I know we're going to kind of recap some of what that is and then take a look forward, I believe,
we're going to go two things for you today. Take a look at what we had and then take a look at where we're going. So is it possible? There we go. So right around 9 o'clock today, I went ahead and gave the all clear. And we could have maybe pulled it a little sooner, maybe around 8 for some parts of the region. And then up toward Astoria and Southwest Washington, Longview, they're still getting some showers and some stronger winds. So it's kind of one of those we could have done south along the coast in the valley at 8, the metro and kind of parallel horizontally across that 9, and then as we get into 1 o'clock north, because that system that we've been watching is moving. It moved up the coast from the south to the north, and now it's kind of crossing over toward the east. Okay. So the way it's kind of going up and over as it kind of goes back and gets back into its place. So these were the wind gusts the peak gusts up toward the north. And by the time we got into yesterday afternoon, we could see gusts along the coast being in the mid to upper 60s, mid to mid 70s. So we hit that right on. But of course, Cape Disappointment and Clatsop Split, they wanted to overachieve. And we typically have really strong wind gusts when these events come. So I'm not surprised that those overachieved. But all the way down along the coast as you drop, you can see low 60s. And then we have another upper 50, mid 70, and a low 60. So just as we expected, strongest winds along the coast with this storm, and we definitely had some power outages and things that came from that. Now, if you go into the metro and valleys, it looked like it'd be mid 40s to mid 50s, and I love it when this happens. It's exactly what we had. So we had 40s a little farther south. You can see some 40s there in Troutdale, and then you're in the low 50s, mid 50s, and low 50s. So we had some pretty good gusts. And in Hillsborough today, I believe that's where Drew was today, where we had trees that came down on libraries and houses and all kinds of crazy things. So,
which, if people haven't seen the footage of that, just kptv.com. It's on there. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you weren't with us through Good Day Oregon any of the times leading up to this event, one of the biggest things was the amount of rain that we got leading into this wind event, because we had, let's see, it was a little more than 3/4 of an inch on Saturday and an inch on Sunday. So we already had nearly 2 inches of rain in the ground. So the ground was super saturated. And then you have these strong winds that come and those trees over. And then yesterday we got another, yesterday up to midnight, another 0.8 of an inch of rain, which is just pretty much spot on with what we were expecting. But that is more than 2 inches in 3 days.
Yeah.
That is a lot of rain. That is mudslides. That is down trees. That is down power. That's exactly
flooding, all
what
of
we
it.
had seen.
Yeah.
Yes. Not then, you know, we weren't worried about flash flooding. If we had had all that rain with no rain leading into it, then we would have had the flash flooding. But because we had had a wet month, sort of, leading up to it, we were pretty good. Okay, I'm going to play the full video. We showed this on air, just the last bits of it. And if you can hear, I don't have the audio for you. She's talking through watching this tree as it's basically that ground is just breathing, right? And that's all saturation. I mean, you can see how wet this ground is. And then just as it gets to the part where it falls over, she goes, oh, there it goes. It's a goner. It's the next one, right? It's almost there. It's like a minute-long video, I think. So
yeah, but that's just wild looking at that. And there's nothing you can do about that.
No.
You just sit there and watch that. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Where is it going to go?
I wouldn't,
Get out of the way of that,
advise it. The only thing, there it is, and just kaboosh right there. I mean, so that's what you have. That's what it looks like.
Luckily
when you have that south of the ground.
Too, but
yeah, the only thing I would think you could do, which I would never recommend, is maybe put like a rope around it and like guide it. I've seen people do that when they fell trees, but I would just let it land and make sure everybody's safe. Okay, February is typically when winter loses its grip, was what we say. But we're getting pretty close to the end of the month, and we have been pretty wet, and up until just now, very, very cold. Going into the last few days, we're going to see our temperatures get into the mid 60s, like low 60s, mid 60s. And then when we start March, we'll be right here. But that's not really what I want to show you. This is what I want to show you. We usually have 3.6 inches. That's the 30-year average. That's updated every 10 years. We have 4.25 inches of rain, just basically just piled everything on at the end. And then the last 6 of the last 10 Februarys, we've had measurable snow. Our average is just about 1.25 inches, and we have had 3 inches. That's what we got with those last. So if you look at just the last few years, you can see we haven't had any super, super wet Februarys. In fact, this one is the wettest February that we have. And this February will always be remembered for the last weekend of the month, it dumping and having that windstorm. That's what we're going to remember February of 2025, not the temperatures. And I'll talk to you about that when we get into the what's coming up segment of our show here. But that's our rain. And then when you look at the snow, 3 inches, sure, that's almost still, it's more than double the average. But look at every other year for a while back, we had, 10 inches. So that really is kind of the outlier. We've either had nothing or a massive. So
one or the other.
It's just right there, kind of splitting the difference. It wants to stand out. So more than average, but not a massive February snow for us. And I should have brought this graphic in. I just thought about this. We just broke a record for, if I remember right, 10 consecutive winters with snow. We've never had that many winters in a row with measurable snow.
Huh, okay.
So we just broke, I think it was 7 before when we got into 7, then 8, then 9, now we have 10.
So we're breaking the record every time.
So we're breaking the record whenever we get measurable snow in February, or not February, in the winter, not just February. So that's kind of a wrap up of what we have. I always want to remind people, because if you remember, I didn't bring anything up on this because I didn't have anything to show. We had that tornado warning yesterday.
We did.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Were you working? Were you here when that came up?
Yes.
Okay, so
I was here, and then partially when I was heading home too, there was another.
Yes. So just a real quick understanding, there's a couple ways that tornadoes can form. You can have the rotation, which is what you think of, or you can have the different wind speeds and directions, and you make that rolling air column, and then you get the updraft and it tilts it up. And we've talked about that's typically how we get our tornadoes here. But when you have that rotation, like we actually saw an indication of rotation on the radar image last night, that's when the National Weather Service put out, not that they had spotted anything or that they had confirmed anything, there was just visible rotation. We have something here in the Pacific Northwest called the Pacific High, which means we're sort of smashed a little.
Yeah.
So we can't get those big booming storms that just go up and really get the good rotation. It's one of the reasons why we only get the zeros or ones when we do. And if we see funnel clouds, they're very, very weak and small because we can't build the height we need in order to get them. And there's other reasons too, but that is one of them, is that Pacific high kind of keeps us smashed. So if we had seen some, I know there was some funnel cloud pictures or video that came in, but as far as from what I understand of yesterday, there's no confirmed tornado that touched down. We just had some rotation and everything was all in the clear.
Well, that is now also all in the clear, right? So
yes.
we're kind of done with all this.
Yep.
So that's what we're going to be talking about next, is we're going to give you the forecast here and what's coming up. And I do want to remind everybody too, we are live. I keep looking at my phone here because if you do have comments,
questions.
I'm looking at Facebook. So if you have questions you want asked, feel free to drop those in there and I'll try to get those to Katie. But we're going to take about a 60-second break here and then we'll come back, we'll regroup, and we're going to talk about what's coming up because
it is such a difference.
I'm excited about this part. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll talk to you here in just a minute here on Fox 12 Now. Back here at the Fox 12 Now, and again, thanks everybody for joining us wherever you're watching. We appreciate it. So keep live streaming. Don't forget to download those apps, including the Fox 12 Weather app. That is a great way to follow along. So we just kind of recapped all the stuff that did happen, and now we get to talk about the other stuff. This is what I've been excited about for like a week since you started talking about the possibilities.
Yes, and what's nice is what we are seeing now has been trending for several days and it hasn't gone away. So this is what we're going to look at. This is one of our model forecasts that we quite frequently look at. It's one of the more high resolutions, the shorter range ones that's a little more detailed. And you can see by 2 o'clock, I mean, this where the white isn't, that's all the sun breaks, right? That's all that sunshine that's coming out. But I want you to notice that north, so you're seeing all this area to the north up in southwest Washington, that's all still having some showers. This is going to take through about 2 o'clock for that to clear, those winds to calm down even more up to the north. So we'll continue to see some of that through the midday to our north and even a little mountain snow, maybe a few more snowflakes. But snow levels are going up as of today and into tomorrow, so we're not going to see much more. We did get 8 inches.
8 inches?
8 inches up at Timberline from this system that came through. From
nice.
5 o'clock yesterday to 5 o'clock this morning, and then nothing since this morning. It just was more blowy this morning. Like you look up there, and you see the snow blowing everywhere, but it wasn't new snow. So good 8 inches up there. And then now we're going all the way through till tomorrow afternoon. Do you notice this nice east wind? And so when we get to the summer months, that means warming, right? It means snow in the winter and warming in the summer. So we have this east wind that's picking up tomorrow afternoon. We're looking at temperatures like in the low 60s.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
And sunshine, you notice not any real thick cloud cover. Everything is just really light, either high level clouds that are just very thin. They kind of filter the sunshine. And then as far as we can go is Friday morning. And so that's not quite the end of the month, but it's far enough into where we're saying we are going to be dry for the rest of the month. This is a look at the rain forecast for the next 3 days in 3 hour total. So it's not doing the math right now, it's recalculating, but this is accurate. Nothing. We're looking at, there was a chance we could have gotten another 1/100 of an inch this afternoon because there's some sprinkles that could be left over. But once we get through 1 o'clock, it is dry all the way through Friday and even Saturday. And I'm watching Saturday closely because on Saturday, it looks like those showers are pushing a little farther out. So some models are not showing the showers until late Saturday night, maybe even late enough that they're more Sunday morning, and we could actually stay dry all the way through Saturday.
We could have an actual dry weekend day.
Maybe. Cross your fingers if you need that. I'll be watching.
Do whatever
that.
you have to do, yeah.
Yes. Here are the temperatures for the month. It was so cold.
Yeah.
The first. We were down, we were right about here. I think you and I were together at some point when we were just going through all this.
Yep.
5.5 degrees below normal. And keep in mind, that's both the daytime and the overnight temperatures put together with the average for that day brought in. These were our coldest days. We also had those 20-degree nights. So that's why we were so chilly. Then we started getting some clouds. We started warming up. You can see we did make it, back to close average, but the overnight temperatures were also much warmer in the upper 30s, low 40s. So we got back to average even more. So that's brought us up. The next couple of days, the 25th, the 26th, and 27th, all should be in the 60s. Maybe even till today will be in the, this is today, we haven't got today's temperature. Today's supposed to be mid 50s and then 60, 60, 60, maybe even 64-ish on Friday.
Okay.
So all of those daytime temperatures, obviously above average, we should be around 54 right now. So we're not quite 10 degrees above average for the daytime. And the same thing overnight, we should be like around 37, 38, and we're looking like low mid 40s. So very warm. My guess is we're going to get so close to normal that we'll just think, oh, February.
It was normal.
It was normal.
Yeah.
Even though we had this big, big ice and snowstorm. And then we warmed up and we had the
That is
Pineapple
quite the
Express.
difference within 2 weeks.
It really is. It was a very transitional month for us.
Yeah.
And then now looking at that rain, there it is. There's our total for the month. And you can see we got a majority of that in the last 3 days. Because, 1/100 of an inch there, 1/10 of an inch here, 100th of an inch there. And then
bam.
Pineapple Express. That's what you get when you get that atmospheric moisture coming in. And the same trough that we were talking about when we were going into this, I think we got together on Friday just before this hit.
We did.
That trough that went down and grabbed and brought everything came up, that's all that we just had, that low pressure that brought us all that wind. It's all that same system is what it came to us. I've already seen some for today. Last time I checked in the metro was in like the 100ths to 10ths of an inch, not super high. The higher totals are more toward like Kelso. They've had more than a ½ inch this morning. They've had more than an inch in Astoria already this morning. So we're seeing those go up. But there's your difference between what we've had and what we typically see. Not expecting, and we will see some added to today. So this will go up a little more, but not expecting anything for those days. So we'll end, a little more than 4 1/4, which is much wetter than average. Now the temperatures. This is what you have been just loving and wanting to see. So here's what we have for you. Even this right here is, at this point, still a little above average. Obviously, this is much higher than average. And then you can see it cools back, but that is what we would consider to be average, about 54,
about 55. Okay.
Yep, as we go into the beginning of March.
I got to tell you right now, that right there, that's about shorts weather.
Oh, you know what?
That's what I would go with.
I'm not doing, obviously I'm now on GD Day Oregon during the week, but when I did the weekend edition, it was always, Owen, is this flip-flop weather?
Oh, yeah.
That was his big thing.
Flip-flop weather? Yeah.
Flip-flop weather. Katie, when can I break my flip-flops out?
Yeah.
So I would say, Owen, I know you're not, but if you're listening, you have your flip-flop weather coming your way. None of these are record-breaking, but here's what's happening that's giving us these warmer temperatures. Is we are seeing this is like what we call a blocking high, but it's not stationary. It's going to shift a bit, which is allowing some little wiggles and why we're going to see likely some rain. So we have this that is building in right now. That low pressure is moved off and it's getting reabsorbed back into that main jet stream. So we go through, you can see it pushing everything, keeping everything up. But this little guy right here, do you see that counterclockwise rotation? That right there is known as a closed low. And so this is one of those terms that we could go into a whole thing about. When you have that closed low, meaning it's separated from the main jet stream, they get squiggly. Like is
that an official term, squiggly?
It's a Katie term. It's an official Katie term. So when you have a cutoff or a closed low, there's this old saying, cutoff low, weatherman woe. Because it's like thinking like taking a ping pong ball and just throwing it in a room and it just kind of can go.
And who knows what it's going to do?
Yes, and when they're not attached to your main jet stream, like these, you can project a little better where they're going to go because they're all like this moving organism. When they come off like that, and this one's pretty detached. They have 4. These are the different pressure levels that you see there. That's pretty cut off. That's a pretty cut off low. So as we go into Thursday, To the south, California could be seeing some fun, kind of more unpredictable weather because you get the wraparound showers that come around to like we see those winds going like that.
Yeah.
And I always equate that to taking a garden hose and just going like this, and wherever the water lands,
that's where it lands.
That's where it's going. You know, it's going to go in that general direction.
Yeah.
So that comes up. It's going to go in this general direction, but
who knows where?
It's just.
Yeah.
That's my official sound effect.
That's a technical, again, technical terms.
Then look at this. Now we get to Sunday. Now we have one a little closer toward us, and we're right in that wraparound part.
Okay.
So these are those showers Saturday night into Sunday and Monday that we're looking at. So the whole reason of bringing this up, and it is, again, a very nice cutoff low, it's going to change. This is one of those ones that this thing is so squirrely, squiggly, however you want to, whatever term of mine you want to put to it, that it's going to change. The position of that is going to change. So it could end up dropping more south, it could go more north, it could stay right its path. It's going to bring with it, if it comes toward us in the right place, the showers. But remember how I said Saturday night we possibly could not have showers? That's the key right there.
So that's what we have to monitor. And
yeah, where's that going? How does it do when it splits off and it's doing its own thing? And then it moves on and gets absorbed back into the main jet stream. And now we're back into Tuesday and we have this real strong ridge. Now, what we just have and what we're looking at as we go into the first week, we were talking about this on the Fox 12 weather podcast. The position of this ridge right here, if it is shifted, if it ends up being shifted a little more to the west and we have this come right down, that's a classic La Nina setup. Okay. That's the wet ones.
Okay.
So it's not a Pineapple Express. So the first week of March, we are watching, we could be going back into another wet pattern.
Okay. What about the temperature? Wouldn't be like
it wouldn't be warm like this last one because that was a Pineapple Express. You got to think the source, we call the source region. Pineapple Express was from California.
Right.
This is from Canada.
Does that mean
cold.
Snow?
No, just cold.
Just cold. Okay.
Just cold because we have to have a position of a very specific low in order to get the snow, especially as we get farther into March. This is just funneling wet.
It's just gonna dump. Yeah.
It would be a big wet beginning to our March. So, so there you have it. That's what we have coming up. This is the latest version of your 7-day forecast. We have ended. I called the all clear at 9 o'clock. Now we get into the taste of spring for a few days, and then going into this weekend, this part of the forecast right here is going to change the most. This has been pretty consistent since it showed up. So I'm not expecting that to change much. Temperatures maybe a couple of degrees, but timing and intensity of these showers, that really is to be determined.
That's the part.
Let's just do this.
Yep. This is,
there you go.
This here, that is what I'm excited about. I do want to say thanks to everybody who's joining in live and just people mostly commenting that some people still don't have power back. Sorry about that. As I know so many people lost power, including you.
Including me. I feel you. We did what you did with we had I grew up in an era with my parents that we lived in places that didn't have a lot of power. Yeah. And then they always had like the candles because they're baby boomers, they're Depression era kids. Yeah. So we were always prepared. So as soon as the lights went out, my family, we had the chargers, we had the candles, we had the, everything. So
yeah, I learned from my mom to always have flashlights around. So I've had all that and the chargers and everything. But so sorry for those of you who don't have power back. I know at KPTV.com we've got some articles on a lot of this stuff too as well. So I don't have any details for you as far as when it'll be back, but we'll see what we can get for you. And thank you, Katie, for all of this. So this is Fox 12 Now. So we live stream every weekday, and we get to do some of these segments here with Katie, talking about the weather and ending on.
I think we should get back together maybe on Friday, do another end of February beginning.
Yeah, see what we're going to see there.
See what we're going to see that weekend.
Okay, I like that idea.
Let's do that.
All right, so that'll be another Friday segment. I'll be live at 1 o'clock, so whatever platform you're watching me on, that's where I'll be. We've got stuff throughout the whole afternoon. I know I'm going to be talking to Jim Todd from OMSI today. We're going to talk about asteroids and a planet parade, so fun stuff there. We're going to talk about Project Pabst and a concert lineup that was announced. So plenty of stuff. Just follow along, again, on whatever platform you are on. And thanks for joining us. Thank you, Katie. And we will talk to you soon with more Fox 12 Now.
Have a good day.